Welcome to Haunt Weekly. And hello everyone, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this is Haunt Weekly, a weekly podcast for the haunted attraction industry. We cover everything from the big mega haunts to the tiny little home haunts. Whether you're an actor, owner, aficionado, we aim to be the podcast for you. As usual, I am joined by the lovely, the sexy, the talented Crystal. And we've got another special show this week. Every week's a special show, if you think about it.
Well, yeah, but
Because there's never going to be another one like it. We hope.
Right.
That'd be pretty problematic. But no, this one, it's a divisible by 4.
Yes, so that means it's a news week.
We're doing the news. And I love doing the news. It's, okay, sometimes it's kind of depressing. But these are clearly from the podcast downloads. These are the shows that a lot of people really like and hone in on these.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. But the other is just because it's always exciting to talk about what's going on and what's new in the industry. And as usual, we have gathered all kinds of wonderful stuff from across the industry, and we are going to be talking about it to you. But first things first, we have a couple of convention announcements. First off, as we are recording this, the Trans World Halloween and Attraction Show is actually ongoing.
Yes, it is currently going. I have been seeing pictures. I am so jealous.
I am so super jelly. Please stop making me so flipping jelly.
No, I want to see what's there.
I know, I want to see what's there too, but I don't want to be jelly, okay? Make it look bad.
Well, that might be better because it is a haunt industry thing.
Okay.
So if it looks, bad and scary.
Okay, you got a point. You also have coming up in July, Chicago Frights, that is taking on the Giorgio's Quality Inn and Suites Conference Center in Orland Park, Illinois.
Right. That should be interesting.
That should be interesting. I am not going to that one either. We didn't go to Trans World because we just got back from South by. We actually got back from South by the day before Trans World started.
Right.
So it's too much conferencing. Sorry, I'm too old for this. I do not have that in me anymore. But no, you have Chicago Frights in July, and also the dates for HauntCon 2017 were just announced.
Yes, they were.
They were. If you go to hauntcon.com, it will be at the Sheraton Nashville Airport. It'll be in Nashville, Tennessee.
Right.
January 26th through January 30th. A little bit earlier than last year. A little bit earlier.
Right.
2017. And yeah, they are currently seeking applications for speakers and people who want to have booths. So if you wish to, have a booth or wish to give a talk, apply away.
Right, and also I would sign up for their mailing list because I do early bird specials.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure when those will become available, but I am aware that it happens. So
it does happen. Tickets are not available right now.
Right.
They are just looking for all the yummy people to display and or otherwise speak at this event. So I haven't decided if I'm applying to speak again. I definitely want to go.
Well, yeah. Okay.
But we'll talk more about it over the next year. We got a long time to figure this one out, is what I'm saying. But yeah, that's some quickie convention updates. If you have any conventions we are not aware of, please let us know, and we will include them when we do our regular rundowns of these every so often. So yes, but we have a lot of great haunted industry news this week.
Yes, we do.
And we actually start, and this is, I think, appropriate enough, in the same place we started last week. Right. Which is in St. Louis.
Yes. And, they are big in with Trans World, right?
Yes, right now. I mean, literally.
So
Larry Kirchner, the guy who puts on Trans World,
yes,
also owns the Darkness, the Abyss, and a bunch of other haunts in the area. He owns Creepy World too. Has been having a bit of a rough time with the city of St. Louis.
Yeah, he's in a little bit of hot water.
Well, I don't know about hot water, but the battle between the city and Kirchner has not lessened.
Right.
Now, last month when we did this, we talked about how Kirchner had said he was going to be keeping the darkness in St. Louis at least through this year, but might be listing it for sale. The future of it was a bit more uncertain, but this year would be in St. Louis.
Right, and he was also looking at possibly moving or opening a second location.
Yeah, and also the possibility of moving it he would not move it out of the St. Louis area, but move it to like St. Louis County, somewhere on the outskirts, which creates a little bit of a problem because St. Louis actually is a pretty big area geographically.
It is.
It's surprisingly large to cross, and when we go up there, our family and friends and so forth are in the Belleville area, so that can sometimes make getting into the Missouri side of things a little more difficult. But that's a separate issue for us.
Yeah, but it would open up new haunts to try next year.
Yeah, it would.
Or the year after.
So, yeah. But long and short of it is, Kirchner, as we said, has been having issues with the city. He's been having beefs. He's been saying that the city taxing, the city policing, and so forth have not been adequate. Right. And that his downtown location, which is pretty unusual among haunts, you have to admit.
It is.
To have not one, but two attractions literally in the heart of the downtown area. Effectively, okay, maybe not like, this, what we would think of as the CBD, but very, very downtown.
Yeah.
Basically, he's saying he might have to move them. Well, now the city has hit back and said that he owes $31,000 in real estate tax. $43,000 in real estate tax. $31,000 from 2015 and another $13,000 from 2013.
For you playing along at home, that's $44,000.
Yeah, okay, math was never my strong suit.
Apparently reading isn't either.
I'm the writer. I don't read or math or anything, apparently.
Usually you're much better. But
Usually I am, okay. But yeah.
Yeah, so that's $44,000 and back real estate taxes. The taxes and city collector has actually admitted that it might have been applied incorrectly. So they're still in negotiations, is what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
On this,
and he said he's getting with his accountant to get the records of the taxes he paid and all this jazz. But the timing of this.
Right.
Honestly, if this had happened almost like any other month, it'd barely be news. It would hardly be nothing.
Right.
Nothing but a nothing. But now, thanks to the fact that it's part of an ongoing battle with the city of St. Louis, it looks responsive? What's the word I'm after?
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah, responsive is, accurate.
It looks like the city, and it may not be, this may all just be genuine coincidence, but it looks like the city is just trying to get some paybacks for some things that Kirchner has said and has been very, very critical of. And, St. Louis, like New Orleans, has a very colorful political history.
Right.
Where that does not seem out of line.
Yeah, well, I know the stories of some of our friends actually opening up a haunt here.
Yeah.
And the extra hoops.
Yeah.
For some of... Yeah,
well,
they just had to go through.
And this is the thing: you go to the conventions, you go to HauntCon, you go wherever, right? Everyone has the worst fire marshal in the world.
Yeah, but you shouldn't look at them that way. And
no, I know the fire marshal's your friend. All that is true.
Yeah.
I completely agree with the Tugs.
Yes, but we're not trying to piss off fire marshals.
But you see what I'm saying? Everyone complains about their local government. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yes,
everyone does. You get them at the bar, you get them wherever. They're going to tell you horror stories about their local government, permits and stuff they had to pay,
right,
and hoops they had to go through. But St. Louis seems to be really putting the screws to Kirchner, and I do not know why.
I don't know why either, because it's, the darkness is in an area that would be described as sketchy at best.
Okay. Okay, we don't know enough about St. Louis geography to make that determination full tilt, but we're going on the feeling.
Well, and we were also going on, Ellie was with us, and she said that it wasn't in the best part of town.
Yeah. Well, and haunts rarely are, but it still was, and that's the thing. Haunts typically aren't set up in the best areas, because, real estate prices don't favor that much.
Right.
But they're usually in not the best areas, a little further afield from downtown.
Right.
Like, the House of Shock here in New Orleans is not in the actual warehouse district. It's out in Jefferson Parish nearby.
Right.
In a warehouse.
But then you have the mortuary, which is in a very good neighborhood.
In a very good neighborhood in the heart of downtown, but it also has an historic building,
right,
which opens up new lines of business. And
they did pay a lot extra for that location.
They did, and they're making use of it year round too.
Right.
So they get all the props. But yeah, it was very, very interesting to see this battle continuing, and it's very frustrating because, I know our review of The Darkness when we did on Garbage Horror, we were a little bit, I don't know, I don't want to say disappointed, but...
Well, it is a heavy prop-based haunt.
Yes, I'll agree with that.
And we prefer to have more actor-driven haunts.
Front-of-line actors, best I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's just a personal preference.
Yeah, it's a personal preference, but still...
They have lots of cool stuff to look at.
But it is still a top-tier haunt. No doubt about that.
No.
It is still one of the best-known and best-loved haunts in the country.
Right.
No doubt about that. And St. Louis it seems like the city is putting the screws to it, and that's unfortunate to me.
Yeah, it is.
So I guess we will monitor what happens there, and I'm hoping that they're able to work it out. I think the location's pretty flipping cool, personally.
It is a cool location.
I would like to see it stay where it is, both for my convenience, because it's like really easy to get to from where we stay.
Right.
But also because I think it's a cool location.
Yeah, but I do think the city could stand to do a few more patrols in the area and make sure the lights are on all the side streets, stuff like that.
Yeah, what the hell is up with that part? That's a good question right there.
Yeah, making sure that the graffiti is,
Well, I mean, the street lights out, that's just dangerous, and you're right, there are a lot. I mean, we're in New Orleans, and yeah, our city kind of sucks about a lot of things.
Yeah.
But our streetlights flipping work.
Yeah. Well, and there's an easy way to report them when they go out.
Yes, that's a good point. I remember that vividly, and you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Let's get on to the next story, because we have a lot to get through.
We do.
Universal Studios Hollywood.
Yeah.
They are converting their previously seasonal Walking Dead maze into a year-round attraction.
Right, and this is really cool because I read the article on this, and it looks like they only actually did it the last 4 days of their season.
Yeah.
So in 4 days...
Seasonal, we have the biggest air quotes we can put on this.
Yeah. So in 4 days, they determined that it was worth putting in the money and effort to do a year-round thing.
Yeah.
And it looks really cool from the advertisement.
And the thing about it is this. We've only got some of like the photos from the temporary one they did. Right. And the sketches that they've been assembling of it. So we really don't know all the details about it.
And the little promo video.
The little promo video, yeah, which, like I said. But the main thing is, it's going to be built into a completely custom building.
Right.
It's going to be a building large enough to basically enclose an outdoor area.
Yeah, and it'd be very interesting to me because I can't tell if this is just a walk-through maze, which is what the name suggests, or if it's more like an escape room type thing, because it says you won't escape in the material that they released. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody did go to it when it was open. Mm-hmm. Let us know.
Yeah. We didn't get to go because A, wrong state, and B, we work Halloween during the season. But yeah, the other thing, it could also be something akin to like a zombie run, though.
Right.
Where you
it did bring memories of that back too.
Yeah. It'll be in a custom building, and I find this next thing to be very, very cool. It will only be for people over 13 years old.
Right.
No kids.
Yep.
And that really ramps up what they can do. And that's also a pretty big risk because Universal Studios is a family attraction.
Right.
And they have children's areas and stuff. They welcome families. To have an attraction like this, a major new expensive attraction too, that will be very, very heavy in terms of its cost to operate because of its personnel.
Right.
That limited only to teens and adults. It's a pretty big risk.
It is, but apparently somebody crunched numbers. At least I'm hoping they did, based on the 4 days.
we're trusting they'll make it work. Here.
Well, I'm trusting that they have enough specialists in that area to figure it out.
Yeah.
To know that it's going to be profitable before they put all that money into it.
Yeah, but no, I am like silly stoked about this. Like, I finally have a reason to want to go to Universal Studios Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because I've kind of been curious about the one in Florida. I've never been.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of good things about their Fright Nights and so forth. I've heard amazing things. We have a friend that worked them.
Right. We have a couple, actually.
Yeah, we have a couple friends who worked them. Met a lot of people who worked them at HauntCon and elsewhere.
Right.
Really do want to check out that at some point. But the main thing is, this is a reason to get out there for me, just like during the summer or whatever.
Right.
Then this is an all year-round
It makes it more possible.
It makes it more possible.
For us to see it.
Yeah, and I can't wait. It will feature props and makeup replicated from the series, which is great. And it will be opening. This is the part that blows my mind. Everything they've got to do is opening this summer.
Yeah.
How in the hell? I couldn't even get like a regular haunt open that quick,
They must have hired lots of people.
I have to wonder how much work they've done before this announcement, but they couldn't have done that much because just had the attraction.
Yeah, but I'm sure that they've got an army of builders and designers,
I'm sure. I'm sure it's
the staffing. It's going to be the hard part.
Yeah, and the staffing is going to be very, very difficult with that because I don't know how many zombies they're planning on having in it. But yeah, this is like the struggle we've seen with other year-round haunts, including the one we went to while we were at South by in San Antonio.
Right.
By the way, review on that will be coming up on Garbage Horror soon.
Yeah, that and the Insanitarium sometime next week.
Yeah, Sanitarium. We got to do those next week. But yeah, staffing is a really tough issue with year-round haunts because where you can pretty trivially, and by pretty trivially, I mean with great difficulty,
yeah,
staff a haunt for 16 nights out of a year, we'll say.
Right.
Imagine doing it, 365.
Yeah.
That's way. You just ramp that up. So
yes, but by the time you get to Halloween, your actors know their parts.
They flipping better. Okay, so that's like the major haunted attraction news for right now. But we do have a lot of escape room news.
Yes, because we can't escape the escape rooms.
No, we cannot. It's the thing for haunted attractions to do. And so, yeah, I found this first one really, really interesting. They are opening up an escape room based upon a video game series.
Right.
And that's really interesting. It's
Real Zero Escape.
Trust on Trial is the full name of the escape room. Mm-hmm. It's apparently a series of video games for the PS and Vita and 3DS. And it will be opening up in Weller Court in Los Angeles.
On April 15th.
Yeah, on April 15th it'll be opening up. The whole escape room thing this is fascinating to me because escape rooms, as a concept, got their start in video games.
Yeah.
What?
No, that's just it. I mean, that's where they were until they made it to where you could play them in real life.
Yeah, the first time I ever heard about a real escape room, that was like my first reaction was, what?
Yeah.
Like the video game?
Right,
and
because
live?
You love those.
Oh yeah, I'm like silly good at them too.
Yeah.
As long as they're not like totally on crack, I'm really good at them. There's some that are really on crack, but
yeah.
But yeah, I love those games. I've played so many of them, and that was what was really interesting when I first heard about them cropping up, because we'd been hearing about them for a while before the 13th Gate got them here,
right?
And we were able to go to one. But yeah, so it's really interesting to see a video game getting made. Now, I don't actually know enough about Real Zero Escape. I know it's an anime-based game. Other than that, I don't know much about it. I know very little about the game. Sorry, never played it.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting that it feels like we've come full circle now where escape rooms are being based on video games.
Right. The video game that started it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
well, I mean, we do it with movies all the time. We see it with movies all the time.
We do. And
granted, there aren't very many movies based on video games that worked out to be done well. Hopefully, this will not be the case.
There was like a couple of good Resident Evil movies there.
Yeah, fine. Mortal Kombat.
Oh, Which one?
Exactly.
Hey, they had a great soundtrack.
Yeah. Also, for that one, the tickets are already on sale.
Yes, and as usual with escape rooms, you need to book a time as well as a buy your ticket. So
right.
Plan in advance. Yes,
and if you have enough friends to go with you to fill up your group, do it.
Advised. Yeah, that as we were lucky when we did escape room.
Yes.
We're looking ahead to doing like way more soon.
Yeah,
we've got like a binge of these coming very shortly, so I'm very excited about that. But that is the one thing about escape rooms is if you are not large enough to fill the room, yourself.
Yeah.
You run the risk of getting some crappy ass teammates.
Yeah.
And they are your teammates. Never forget that. Also, Escape the Room. One of the bigger names in this. They have a New York location. They are opening up a Detroit one.
Right. Interesting choice.
Yeah, interesting. And once again, tickets will be $28 there. When are they opening? I thought I had that. Or are they already open? Shoot.
I feel like we should have music for this time when
you're trying to find something. Doop doop doo 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 doo.
Nope, not that.
Okay, but yeah, I don't think this article actually says. Geez, that's useful information. But yeah, they started in New York City in 2013, and they are now moving over to Detroit. Which, like I said, I find that interesting, but then again, not really, because Detroit has a very, very strong haunt culture.
Right.
It's always been a great place to go for haunted attractions, and I don't know. It actually kind of makes sense when you think about it that way. So yeah. Obviously a very, very interesting opening there, and the last one is local to us.
Yes.
We actually have the Mortuary Haunted House. In fact, this was hilarious. I was working on the show notes.
Right.
And I got the email from the mortuary.
Yeah.
Which is why there's no.
I did too.
You can't see our show notes because
yeah.
we got to get we do other things to get the links online.
Right.
We have like a Google Doc with lots of random crap in it. It's how we do it.
Yeah.
But there's no link with that because all I've got is the email they sent me.
Yes, saying that it opens on April 1st in New Orleans, and they're going to have 3 rooms, and it's a general audience admission.
Well, 1 is general audience, and 2 are PG-14.
Yeah.
Which I say that's a great way to avoid the trademark of using PG-13. Someone knows their IP.
Yeah. You should meet that person.
Yes, I should, because they clearly are ahead of the curve. But yeah, they looked very, very cool. So I'm actually really looking forward to it. And we actually have spoken to some of the people building those.
Right.
And I'm hoping that we are able to get at least 1 or 2 of them on this podcast in short order.
Yes.
To talk knowledgeably about room escapes rather than just out of our butts.
Yes. Because, we can only see one side of it because we haven't built one.
We have not built one, and it's going to be really interesting, I think, to hear from the builders and designers of these. So yeah, hang on a second. I got the it's weird. Their site actually says they have 5, but the email only listed 3.
Maybe only 3 have
or open
been,
initially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So well, I mean, that's like 13th Gate is adding more all the time.
Yeah, they're rotating between them. Yeah, they have 3. 1 is the game room, 1 is serial killer's lair, and then they have the embalming room, a zombie escape.
Yeah.
And 2, the first and third are medium, and the middle one is difficult. So,
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know how you determine the difficulty of I guess other than trial and error, how you determine the difficulty of an escape room that's not open.
Well, maybe it's based on how many clues there are and how many clues can be given.
I guess. That's interesting.
Yeah, and how hard the clues are to get to.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And our final escape room information actually is not an escape room.
No.
It's a board game.
Yes. So this... I understand people wanting to play escape rooms at home, But I don't understand it going to board game. Because you got online escape rooms, video games.
Yeah. But this is cooperative play. You can have, I believe it's up to 4 people.
Yeah. So it does bring an interesting element into it.
It's called, okay, let's backtrack here a little bit.
Yep.
It's called Escape Room in a Box, The Werewolf Experiment. And it's available on Kickstarter.
Yes, pre-orders are available.
Pre-orders are available on Kickstarter now. They'd asked for 19,500. They received 135,000.
Yes, there's a lot of interest.
They might have met their goal by a pretty wide margin. You can still pre-order. But yeah, basically it's a board game where 2 to 6 players will work together to solve puzzles and clues and escape the room. And I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how great this will be. It's part of my problem is, and obviously a lot of this is not knowing that much about it, because they quite deliberately have kept a lot of the details hidden.
Yeah.
For mystery reasons. And I totally get that. That's not a criticism. But, I mean, how replayable is this?
Yeah. I mean, I think you would have to have extra people. And if it was a thing like, I don't know, the only thing I can think of is like Dungeons and Dragons, where the person hosting the game has the ability to give out extra clues, and they just host new people every time, then I could see it working. But there's no real tweaking it at any point. And they do mention that in the article.
Yeah.
That they can't really change it that much.
Yeah, they do offer a refill pack, which just basically refills some of the usable items in it.
Right.
But yeah, it would be pretty much a one-time thing. Now, here's the thing: it's $60 to pre-order it, which the price of these escape rooms, if you just have 2 people, you're probably cheaper to actually go to a real escape room.
Right.
So make sure you have a large group, basically, or you have multiple groups that you want to play this with. But still, it's a very interesting idea. I mean, I don't know. Half the fun of doing an actual escape room to me is how tactile it is. You feel the keys in your hand. You feel the wall move when you pull on it.
Yeah.
Things like that
are
really awesome to me. And I don't know if I'm going to get that much experience on the board. I'm still very curious about it, but I don't know if I'm $60 curious personally.
Yeah. I'm right there with you.
All right, well, let's talk about some news coverage the haunted attraction industry got this month, rather. There was an article on Cracked about, well, the article was entitled, let's read the title. It was 5 Terrible Tragedies Exploited by Cash-Obsessed A-Holes.
Yeah.
That's a letter for letter, read the title. And the first item on the list was haunted houses based on real serial killers.
Right.
Yeah, and basically it listed a series of haunted attractions, including one called Killers, a nightmare haunted house in New York that had rooms based upon real-life murderers, including John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy, the Zodiac Killer, also including exhibits of their belongings. It's unclear if that haunt is still open. Let me rephrase that. The haunt is still open, but it's unclear if they're still doing the serial killer theme.
Right.
Yeah, it was open in 2012. In 2014, they had a Sacramento haunt that was built around the murders of Richard Trenton Chase. He was a local, pretty big-name serial killer, killed about 6 people. And in the 70s, survivors and families of victims pushed back, and he eventually changed the theme. But, and this is the one that kind of makes me go, what? Is apparently Rob Zombie's Great American Nightmare had a room dedicated to John Wayne Gacy, as well as Charles Manson, Jeffrey Dahmer, and other real-life killers.
Right, and the Gacy room was described as a guy in the makeup, the clown makeup, making balloon animals while surrounded by mannequins that were child-sized.
Yeah.
So, this is something we've talked about before, because there was a museum that opened up a couple of years ago in New Orleans. I'm not sure if it's still open.
Yeah, we'd heard about it opening, but we have not heard squat about it since.
Right. Which basically put artifacts of serial killers and serial killings online. Not online, but for view of the public.
It looks like it is still open, by the way.
Okay.
It's on Dauphine Street, $15 admission, open every day but Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Right. And, this kind of ties into what we were talking about with the backstory, is that when you pull from history, you want to pull from a really long time ago, that it's not going to impact, current survivors. And it can be seen as really insensitive, especially if you are, some of these reenact the actual crime scenes.
I mean, okay. And the thought I have is, how would you feel if a haunted attraction was reenacting your wife's murder?
Yeah.
Or your daughter's murder, or your son's murder.
Right. And that's actually what was pointed out in here. There was one of the victim's husband found out 36 years after his wife's death that this attraction had put this on and had recreated it. And it was in very poor taste and without compassion.
And, I mean, okay. And, like, with Rob Zombie's Great American Nightmare, I understand that haunt likes to live on the edge. It likes to be borderline offensive.
Right.
That's one of the things that our industry has been doing for some time. It's been this inching toward more extreme things.
Right.
And that's included subject matter.
Yeah.
And this has been one of the areas that we have been pushing into and nudging our way into.
Right.
And it's not just extreme haunts like McCamey Manor and the Blackout and all that. We're doing, more and more aggressive themes. And the question we have to ask ourselves, is this really good not just for the business, but really good for the industry in the long run?
Right.
And I don't believe that it is.
I don't either. I think we're getting into too niche of a market for people who are just wanting to go to the extremes, and we're forgetting about the fun of haunting, or moving towards forgetting about the fun of haunting in the family element.
Yeah. And that's the other element of it. I think we are really segmentizing this market more than it needs to be. Because I'm always of the mindset, if it has to be gory to be scary, then it's not scary.
Yeah.
It's just flat truth. You've done something tactically wrong, there was a mistake made, it's not scary.
Right. Well, and here's one of the examples from this is one that recreates the murders of Jack the Ripper. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually old enough that you're probably not going to have survivors, but they did it. I think the problem is relying too heavily on history and remaking it.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. And it lacks creativity, honestly.
Well, they had Jack the Ripper stuff in the 13th Gate.
That was Jekyll and Hyde.
No, they also did have him too at one point.
Yes.
He was mentioned at least once.
But it wasn't. Yeah, they had the newspaper clippings and things on the wall.
They played off of him, yeah.
Yeah, but that's just it. They played off of him. They didn't, show his victims. They didn't put his victims where you could take a photograph with them, which is what this one did. And
taking a selfie with the deceased is literally a line in Weird Al Yankovic's Tacky song to boot. So I'm just saying, when Weird Al's calling you out on it, there's probably a need to step back and reevaluate. I'm just saying.
Right.
Yeah, because I don't know. I read this article and I understand that as an industry this is just kind of the way we're inching and we're edging, but it doesn't mean I like it. And this is something that I feel we really, really, really need to reevaluate. And the thing about it is this: these haunts are, and the problem I have is this stuff is like a drug in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's going to happen is a haunt is going to do something extreme, get a lot of PR, make a lot of money, and the next haunt is going to have to think of a way to up that.
Right.
Up that. Because you're always looking for that next hit. And at some point, we're going to push it.
Yeah. Well, and see, I think that there's this want to make haunted houses for adults more more targeted towards adults. But kids are born every year, and eventually they're going to want to go to a haunted house.
Yeah.
But if they're too extreme for their parents to go, then where are they going to go?
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, and I think the video
and
game...
I know that that's, leaps and bounds and jumping off of a cliff. But
I think what we need to do is we need to take a look, and we've already said we're going to talk about video games and haunting and what the two can learn from each other. But here's one lesson that probably wouldn't have come up in that talk.
Yeah.
Is that there was a time period, I think about 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
Video games were really pushing the violent edge. You had games like Manhunt coming out.
Yeah.
All these games really pushing hard on that violent, gory, brutal edge. And it caused a lot of blowback, caused a lot of anger. Now, it didn't sink the industry, but the industry came to realize that, maybe we don't need to go that way to make games for adults.
Right.
That we can make games for grown-ups in a way that doesn't completely alienate a younger audience.
Yeah, because as anybody who's worked in a haunt knows, parents love seeing their kids getting scared.
Parents be evil, yo.
So, but if it's too horrific and realistic for people to enjoy, then families aren't going to go.
Yeah.
It's just going to be that small percentage of possible customers that are really looking for that.
Yeah, and so what I think we need to do is sort of look to what the video game industry did and say, all right, we need to find the haunts. Because when you're building a big mainstream, big, huge mega haunt, you're basically building and designing a AAA video game in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And you're putting in that same type of upfront investment in hopes for a longer run payoff. It's the same type of deal.
Right.
And so we're going to have to find ways to ensure that these have that mass market appeal. They need to find ways to create conversations and ways to get people talking that don't necessarily rely on shock value alone, because shock value fades.
Yes.
It fades so fast. People get accustomed to stuff. The House of Shock rose here in New Orleans on the back of the satanic panic of the late 80s, early 90s.
Right.
By 2016, the satanic themes are almost... Even they play them as more comical now.
Yeah, they're pretty background to the haunt, I think, except for the one room.
But they've realized that this no longer...
Well, yeah, and the real world threats out there, and the fear that's put out there every day from real threats is... It makes you rethink what is shocking for haunts.
Yeah, I think we'll know we've hit the end of the chain on this when someone makes like a 9/11 haunt or something.
I think that was in that article.
It was a video game.
Okay.
It was like an indie video game based upon it, and that's one of the things is there will always be small independent creators who do extreme things. They don't necessarily have to represent the mainstream of the industry.
Right.
Right now, a lot of these guys are fairly mainstream in our industry.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears. Speaking of video games, I wanted to talk about this. Machiavellian.
Yes.
This is really, really fascinating. I had not heard about this until very recently. But it is a game that has now been successfully funded on Kickstarter. And basically, the reason I approached the haunt industry with this is there's one thing we are not allowed to do. No matter how shocking your haunted house is, no matter who you put in it, you're not allowed to actually kill the customers.
Yes.
It turns out the police do frown upon that still.
Yeah.
You might have trouble getting your permits. But Machiavellian is a simulator for building a real haunted house.
Right.
Where you are trying to trap and to kill people with various monsters, such as zombies, vampires, and all that jazz.
Right. And you have to play by the zombie and the game rules, basically. The monster rules. So zombie wants brains, you have to get him brains. And this is in addition to finding resources, building the layout, and making sure that your characters are kept happy by killing people in the right ways.
Yeah, and you have rules as to when you can kill people too.
Right.
Horror movie rules, you have to get them alone, you have to things like that. There are various rules.
Yeah, we played a couple of games that tie into this pretty well. Dungeon Keeper being one of them. That's where you went and you gathered your resources and you built your perfect dungeon, and then you went and attacked other kingdoms, and
it was a lot of fun. And I want to play Dungeon Keeper 2 again. You see what you did?
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, and also Poltergeist is a game on the Sega Genesis,
right,
which has a very similar theme of you're a real ghost, you're trying to scare people out of the house.
Yes.
It's a short game.
I've watched you play it.
It's a short game, but it's a lot of fun. If you have a Genesis around or a Retron 5 or whatever, definitely give that one a shot. So yeah, this is done by Wild Factor Games. Kickstarter successfully funded. We will be getting this hopefully very, very soon. I'm actually very curious to try this one out.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun.
It does. Rules. Okay, the rules. You must kill them all. You can kill them only when they're alone, unless they're having sex. If that's the case, go ahead and slaughter those evil degenerates.
Not for kids.
You have to kill the virgin last. You can only massacre at night. Once the sun is up, you have to let the survivors leave and live until the sequel. Do not kill the dog, ever, no matter what.
Right.
So yeah, it looks like a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. Should be interesting. Also, possibly gearing up for now a PC port is a game called Haunted Halloween 85. Haunted : Halloween. It's a weird title structure is what I'm saying.
Yes.
It's Haunted : Halloween 85. It was released as an NES card. It was not actually released in 1985, unlike what my show notes say. It was a very recent card. I think it was 2015 actually it was released. Yes, 2015. But now they are on Steam Greenlight and hoping to make a PC port of the game.
Yeah.
So it should be a lot of fun. If you like NES games, like side-scrolling beat-em-up NES games, like River City Rampage, Double Dragon, that type of stuff, this game seems like it'd be up your alley, except it involves zombies and ghosts and stuff like that. It looks like a lot of fun, and honestly, I have a soft spot for this type of stuff.
Yeah.
I really do. I really have a soft spot for these types of games. Should be very interesting. Alright, got a little time left. That means we get to talk some quote-unquote real haunted stuff. That's not what I put in the show notes.
Yeah.
Show notes are often significantly more vulgar than the actual podcast. First off, a haunted Bible, which... You want to take this one, darling?
Not really. But basically, this Bible dates back to the early 1880s. It was given to someone in 2011 who, the person giving it had enough of the ghostly activities going on with this thing. And so, of course, they give it to a friend because, that's what friends do is give them haunted items that'll torture them.
Yeah, I just got to say this. If I have a haunted item that's like I know is actually haunted, I'm finding my worst enemy and giving it to them as a making-up present.
Exactly.
You're doing it wrong is what I'm saying.
Yeah, maybe they weren't such friends after all.
Maybe in his mind they were, but not hers.
No.
Just thinking. But anyways, he kept it in isolation in a room in a church, and he is selling it on eBay because that's where all the legitimate transactions take place.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
What Craigslist too busy? He's selling on eBay for £120,000. This is in the UK, I should note, or about $173,000 US. So, good luck.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to feel about that one. There's another one though that makes me smile a little bit.
Yeah.
The title is Ghost Hunters Rescued from Haunted House. Long and short of it is there's apparently a house in Derry, Northern Ireland. I have no idea where that is other than the name.
Mm-hmm.
On February 13th, a group of ghost hunters broke into this place, which apparently this place is named Boom Hall. It was built in 1779, but it's fallen into disrepair. And this is something we've noticed in our travels to England.
Right.
Is they have so many old historic buildings. A lot of them are in terrible shape.
Yeah, the historic society is not big enough to take care of all of them.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. In America, if we had a building in our neighborhood, it was built in 1779, you know that stuff would be on like historical reserve list, would be getting money, and
right,
like we wouldn't be screwing around with it. But in Northern Ireland, apparently in the UK, it's in such disrepair it's been condemned.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like whenever we mentioned to our friends and over there that we were going to Tynemouth, they were like, that pile of rocks?
Yeah.
It's like, and it was the most beautiful, exciting day ever.
It was great. Tynemouth near Newcastle, highly recommend the visit. Also, a quaint little town around it too. Very lovely little town, little village area, and a lovely castle.
Yes.
Well, not a castle. It's a keep and a priory.
It's a keep and a priory, and there's also dinosaur mini golf.
Dinosaur mini golf rocks. 10 out of 10. Would get sprayed with water from a pterodactyl again.
Notice she didn't say where the water comes from.
In its mouth. It wasn't actually that interesting. It spit all over me, and not in that way either. But anyways, they broke in on February 13th. They wanted to do some ghost hunty type stuff. They got trapped inside. So then they used the magic of a cell phone to call for a rescue. Firefighters arrived, I kid you not, with a key.
Yep.
And let them out.
Yep. Maybe the ghost locked the door behind them.
Oh yes, I'm sure that's it. I'm 100% sure that's like perfect, man. I'm sorry.
It is. It kind of reminds me actually of American Horror Story, the second season, with the couple that's going around to all the haunted attractions, the real haunted buildings.
Okay.
They're going to real haunted buildings to celebrate their upcoming nuptials, or maybe it's for their honeymoon. I don't remember now. But.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. But here's another feel-good story for us.
Uh-huh.
A French lighthouse that is rumored to be extremely haunted is seeing its first tenant since 1910.
Right.
It has been nicknamed, and I kid you not, Hell by the sailors that pass it. It is off the coast of Brittany in France. It is apparently on a very, very remote and isolated island. It is almost impossible to get to. And it has been vacated ever since 1910, when lighthouses became automated, and long and short of it is they didn't need someone there.
Right.
But it has a history of hauntings and madness, and you go through the article, there's like tons of stories of people basically going crazy from loneliness is how I interpret it.
Yeah, and, there's been scientific studies about that exactly happening.
So it's not unbelievable that a lot of people have gone completely bonkers out there, though I think the probability of that happening goes down in the era of satellite internet, Netflix, and...
Well, and being able to get in touch with the rest of the world.
And basically able to stay in contact with society. In the iPad era, it seems like a little bit less of a concern.
Yeah.
But the reason they're staying there is the cool part.
Mm-hmm.
They're raising publicity for lighthouse restoration throughout France, because a lot of these lighthouses, like Hell, such a touching nickname, are falling apart and are becoming very dilapidated, and they are extremely expensive to repair due to their locations, so they're trying to raise awareness and raise funds for repairing the lighthouses. I think that is cool.
It is cool. Once again, historical society not big enough.
Yeah, and the guy, by the way, is spending 2 months there, so it's not like he's just staying overnight and leaving. He's actually spending some time.
Right.
So you got to applaud that. Wrapping it up, only got a couple more stories here. Beijing's best known haunted house is getting renovation. Now, this is interesting. What I know about Beijing? There's a French-style mansion that has existed for about 100 years in Beijing. And Beijing is a city that is known for tearing up absolutely everything to modernize.
Right.
But somehow it avoided demolition and has earned a reputation for being extremely haunted. Supposedly, there was a suicide there basically after the revolution in China in 1949. One of the officers on the KMT, the losing side of the revolution, lived there, but supposedly left his wife behind to flee to Taiwan.
Yeah. And
she killed herself, though there's no evidence to that story. But like most stories, truth never got in the way of a good tale.
Right.
And the result of that is a 2014 film called The House That Never Dies.
Yeah.
It's like the bed that eats.
Or the brain that never dies.
Exactly. It's popularized the house. Well, now it's getting a renovation and upgrade. It will be touched up, repaired, has apparently fallen to dilapidation and graffiti and wildlife reclamation.
Yeah.
Because plant
that
life
sounds good. Yeah.
has overtaken it, so it will be getting its upkeep. That thing, that's pretty cool. It looks awesome in the photos.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, and it's very bizarre because it says French style mansion. They ain't kidding. It looks very French.
Wonder how it got there.
I don't know. I just don't know. I'm not even going to pretend like I know enough about history to take a stab at that one.
All right.
And finally, Loftus Hall in Wexford, Ireland, another well-known haunted attraction in the region, is celebrating its 666th birthday.
That sounds like reason to celebrate.
It does indeed. It was built in 1350,
Mm-hmm.
which those of you who are good at math already figured that out. Me, I had to actually look at my notes. But basically, there are tons of ghost stories and supernatural legends involving cloven-hooved people, animals, and ghosts going all the way back to the 1600s. It actually fell into disrepair and was closed for about 30 years. It reopened in 2012 for ghost tours, and now the caretakers are making it a sort of a full-time ghost toury establishment. And from it looks like, from the photos and from everything else, I mean, I really don't know much about it, but it looks very remote. So it looks like it would be a bit of a trip to get out there.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
It looks great, don't get me wrong. I mean, I totally want to go there.
Yes, can we just pick it up and transport it here somehow?
I don't think that's how this works.
Oh, darn.
I wish it did too, but I don't think it is. Just like airlift it to New Orleans.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks really, really cool, and like I said, supposedly it has been the sighting of hauntings and various other things for a long, long time. So yeah, it's been a pretty interesting month in haunt news.
Yeah. We had a lot to cover.
Yeah, any final thoughts or things to add?
Oh, not at the moment.
Not at the moment. Here's hoping again that St. Louis and the Darkness are able to resolve their dispute amicably.
Yes.
I'm hoping for that, and I'm really excited about the Walking Dead attraction.
Yeah, I hope we get to go sometime soon.
I would love to go to that. But, you know, the unfortunate nature of it, and I know this from my love affair of Alien Encounters at Disney World, that year-round attractions, even ones like Alien Encounters, didn't require any more staff than any other ride, really. It was mostly automated. But my experience has been that those tend not to last, but I'm hoping I'm wrong about this one, and this sticks around. Because The Walking Dead has stuck around forever.
Yeah, it's been around a while.
And I'd say the show's become a zombie.
Oh.
No, okay, I'm not going to say that.
No.
Anyways, it's been fun talking news with you. Yeah, so I guess we should wrap this thing up, huh?
Yep.
On that note, everyone, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this was Haunt Weekly, episode 16, doing the news for March and February. Thank you very much, and we will see you guys next week.